Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're back at it again. Still working on the 2J. We're gonna get the head and the cams in today, and get us one step closer. I know there's still lots to do. We're not really that close, but we're gonna keep going on it and see what we can get done today. Okay, guys. So I've got the studs in for the head, and I've got the head gasket on. Now, I didn't bore you with making sure that there's ARP ultra torque on the threads, and the same thing with the bolts and the nuts and the washers. You guys saw that yesterday's video, so I'm not going to bore you with it. I do want to point out, when you're putting on the gasket, a couple things that you do want to look for. Mistakes happen. I've had head gaskets before. Small little things have happened in manufacturing. So you want to go along and you just want to make sure that all the water jets are lined up the way they should, that any holes where, oil or water is going to be coming through, that everything's lined up the way it should. Sometimes in manufacturing, if something shifts, this hole here, it could be moved over, it could be just a little bit off to the side. So you just want to go and you want to make sure everything's lining up the way it should. Everything's down the way it should. You really want to go over the gasket just to make sure that, you just want to go over the gasket just to make sure that everything's done proper. Again, I'm not saying that, they send out gaskets, any company. I'm saying mistakes happen. So even though, I'm confident that everything's going to be right, it's definitely a good idea. I've said this before, when you're building an engine, it's not a race. Take your time, go over every little thing, check everything, make sure there's no gouges in the gasket, make sure there's no nicks or dings, anything like that. If you're going to go with like a triple layer metal, which is what we've got here, you just want to make sure that everything's going to be good. So we'll get to it, and we'll get the head and the cams in, hopefully. So now when I'm putting the washers in, you're going to see me. I'm going to use needle nose pliers, and the reason for that is I just want to make sure that I'm keeping as much of the ultra torque on the washer and not all over. So I'm going to have to pull this off here because it looks like everybody learns something new every day. I just learned something new about building a 2J, and I'm going to show you right now what it is. So the reason I put it on and took it off is because of this. So down inside there, it's where the washer goes. You can see the washer there. So that one doesn't have, this one doesn't have a washer in it yet. And the problem is this washer is bigger than the round part, than that round part right there that lets me put a washer in there. So I now have to go and I have to put the washers in first on an angle, set them down in there, and then set the head on with the washer on, because with the stud coming up in here, I can't get the washer in there because this isn't big enough. So I'm going to have to go and put the washers in first, then put the head on, and then do the nuts. You learn something new every day. This is the first 2J that I've built, yeah, that's interesting that I would have done that obviously before I put it in. So now I'm going to go. I'll throw all those washers in, and then we'll put the head back on, torque it down. All right, so now we're going to put the head on again, and this time I've got the washers already in the head, which I just learned have to be in before you put it on. So here we go again. So I'm going to start on the nuts. Now again, because they're so tight and such little room in there, I want to make sure just making sure. Obviously I'm going to start with my hand, but there's really not a lot of room in there, and I don't want to drop it. Again, I'm trying to keep as much of that ultra torque out of everything else as I can. And I wasn't as generous with it as I was with the mains, because it's very hard to get a rag down in there to clean it out. It's very, very tight. So I only put on as much as I need. And hopefully I won't have to clean it. So they're all in there now. Just checking. It's no good. So what I did, we're going to torque it down now. Now one thing that I really don't like doing when I'm torquing, one thing I really dislike is putting an extension on whatever I'm torquing, because inevitably this extension is going to take a torque, not a lot, but it will adjust your torque a little bit. Because the shape of that and the size it is down there, I can't just put this extension right on the socket, the adapter right on the socket, and get it down to torque, because it rubs on the side and it doesn't let me do it. This is where, probably the only time you're ever going to hear me say this, I have tons of tools, cheap tools, expensive tools. This is probably one of the only times I went over to my toolbox and got a snap-on extension, only for the reason that, because this is an important part of the build, making sure that this head is torqued down correctly, I want to use what's going to give me the least amount of variance in my torque. So this snap-on extension, it's the shortest extension that I have for them, and it's a snap-on, and it's just going to bend a little bit less than, you know what I mean, perhaps a Mastercraft one or a cheaper brand one. So again, I have tons of tools. I have everything from Mastercraft and you know, Craftsman to Gray and Snap-on. But for this procedure specifically, I went to my toolbox and looked exactly for this Snap-on one, because it's going to give me the most accurate torque when I'm torquing down the head. So they want the head torqued down in 3 sequences to 80 foot-pounds. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start at 30. I'm going to torque it down to 30. Then I'm going to torque it down to 60. Then I'm going to do my final 80. This is important, unlike the crank. You saw the way I did the crank. I chose to do it that way. This is important that you start in the middle. I'm going to do basically cap number 4. Then I'm going to do 3, then a 5, then 2, then 6, then 1, then 7. And I'm going to do that all 3 steps all the way along. So I'll torque it down. Sorry about that, guys. Battery died on the camera there, but I got them all torqued down to 60, and now my final torque, 80. This is going to be my last torque. That's it. The head's on. It's all been torqued down. Everything's looking good. Next step, we'll do the cams. So now we got the heads on. I'm going to install the cams. So the one part that I don't get to show you guys is these lash caps. These are caps that go on top of the valves. Inside of them, they've got really fine little washers to adjust the lash in them, and that was done at Competition Automotive. They've already gone through and spec'd everything. That's why they're already installed. So unfortunately, I don't get to show you that there, but we'll get the cams on now. When I'm putting the cams on, I'm obviously going to lube it up with assembly lube. This is going to be real important because it's the reason I left some of those pistons down. I left them all an inch from the top was because when I put these cams in, it's going to open some valves. It's also important, you're going to see me go up and down, back and forth, tightening it down very slowly so it's all coming down together, because I don't want to bend a cam or screw up one of the caps or anything, and you've really got to make sure that cam's going down all together. So I'm going to throw the cams in here first. Some lube going here. Now, another nice part is with Toyota, this is like I'm finding more and more out as I build it. They've got on each one of their cam caps, they've got an I 1 through 7 for intake and an E 1 through 7 for exhaust and an arrow pointing, so you really can't screw it up. It tells you right here, this is, you know, I mean, intake 1, it's obviously the big one, it's going to go up here at the front, and it tells me which way it goes. Like I said, little things like that, Toyota's really gone out of their way when engineering it to make sure that that you're not messing up the position of the cams. I'm going to torque them all down now. 14 foot-pounds is the spec on them, and we're going to do the same thing because I always do. We're going to go in a I'm going to go in 3 steps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 10, 12, 14 to torque them all down. Again, I'm going to start in the middle. So that's it, guys. I'll show you the end result. So cams are in. Again, like I said, when I tighten this down, it opened up some of the cams, right? So these valves here are open. You know, these ones here might be open just a touch. That's why I left, right? That one, where is it? Right there, that one there. That's why I left the pistons down a little bit, was so that when we put that on, there it is. So when we put this on and we clamped it down, it didn't hit any of those pistons, right? I know there's a non-interference engine, we should be okay. But that's it, guys. The 2JZ, it's coming together. The bottom end has been put in. Again, now I'm gonna wrap this in probably plastic to keep everything clean and tidy. I'm still looking for the rear sump oil pan because we have a front sump and it's going to hit the frame. So we need a rear sump oil pan. I'm still looking for that. But that's it for now, guys. The 2J is coming along. Head's all on. Everything's torqued down. And next video is probably going to be back on the car. I'll have to order up some parts for the 2J. So again, for those of you that are new to the channel, guys, this is the 2JZ that we're working on for this car here. This is the Toyota Supra, the Veilside 4509 giveaway Supra. Everything that gets done on it gets voted on by subscribers. You guys tell us what to do to it. We're building it, and at the end, one lucky YouTube subscriber is going to win the car. All you got to do to subscribe, or all you got to do to win, for your chance to win, is subscribe to the channel. So follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.